funny thing happens after 70. Your heart can start getting stronger once you learn what to let go of. Not from medicine, not from medical devices, but the invisible pressures you have shouldered for so many decades. Did you know that people over 70 in America have a 2 to 3 times higher risk of heart disease from chronic stress, even with a healthy diet and regular exercise? And the paradox is this: the most seemingly harmless things are quietly suffocating your heart each day. Are you still trying to hold everything inside, not wanting to disturb other people? Do you still force yourself to nod just to keep the peace? Are you still clinging to a painful relationship because you cannot bear to end it? Today, we are going to walk through 8 things not worth holding on to after 70, and why letting them go is not weakness, but is, in fact, the smartest way to protect your heart. You will see, a healthy heart doesn't just come from diet or the gym. It starts with being kinder to yourself. And if you watch until the end, you will understand why sometimes letting go at the right moment is a therapy more powerful than any prescription medicine. If you are in your 70s or you love someone who is, stick with us, because a few things in this video today could truly save their heart. Let's dive in. The first thing: you no longer need to keep everything in on. Holding things in only makes your heart more tired. After 70, many of us learn to be silent. Not because we lack emotion, but because we think saying it won't help. We hold back the small sorrows, the words left unspoken, the old resentments we thought were forgotten, but still occasionally sting. And over time, all these things build up inside, like a stone becoming heavier on the heart. Here is something few people notice. Suppressed emotions don't just affect your mood, they directly impact your cardiovascular health. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that older adults who frequently suppress their emotions have a higher risk of heart disease, especially high blood pressure and arrhythmia. When you're angry but don't speak, sad but don't let it out, your body still shoulders that pressure, and your heart is the first to suffer the damage. The story of Mr. Martin and Mr. Sam is a perfect example. Both were 78. Mr. Martin lived alone after his wife passed, often hiding his loneliness. When his children asked, he'd just reply, "I'm fine, don't you worry." But that fine was a front. One morning, Mr. Martin had a heart attack, and in the hospital, doctors said it wasn't just physical, but the result of years of bottled up stress. But Mr. Sam was different. He lost his wife the same year as Mr. Martin, but chose to share. He wrote a diary, joined a support group, and sometimes cried when he remembered her. His children and grandchildren knew this, and no one judged. In fact, they saw him living more lightly, his heart was stable, and his spirit grew ever stronger. You see, the difference isn't whether you feel sad, it's whether you let yourself breathe it out. The solution doesn't have to be difficult. It could start with a simple conversation with a loved one, or just a blank sheet of paper, writing down what troubles you, not for others to read, just to get it off your chest. If you like, share with your doctor, a trusted friend. They do not need to offer advice. They just need to listen. Because your heart doesn't just need medicine, it needs relief. Do not keep holding things that weigh you down. Letting go isn't about weakness. It's about finally giving your heart a well-deserved rest. The second thing: not everyone needs your constant agreement. Always nodding yes to everything. Your heart is growing tired, and you might not even realize it. Throughout our lives, many of us have become used to being the people pleaser. When young, we learned to give in, to not bother anyone, always trying to make everyone happy. And that habit follows us into our later years. Even when tired, even when we disagree inside, we still nod. "Okay, sounds good," just to keep the peace. But did you know that constantly trying to please others, especially when your heart says otherwise, puts your body under more stress than you'd think? According to a study from the American Heart Association, older adults who tend to find it hard to say no often have higher than average blood pressure and heart rates. Because with emotions suppressed, the nervous system is always in a state of endurance. Take Lorraine, for example. At 75, she was at every family gathering, always the last to clear the table, even when her health didn't allow it. She said yes to all invitations, even when she just wanted a quiet afternoon alone. Each time she would go home exhausted, her heart pounding, but she'd still smile through it. Then there was Charles. He used to be the one who pleased his whole family and friends, until his doctor said his heart needed a break, both physically and mentally. From then on, he learned to say no gently. Thank you, but I think I'll rest today. And you know what? No one got upset. In fact, people started respecting him more, and he felt more at peace with himself. After 70, what you need most isn't everyone's approval. It's your own inner peace. You can start with small no's. No need to go if you feel too tired. No need to agree with what you don't believe. No need to force a smile when you want to be silent. Dropping the habit of always agreeing doesn't make you a difficult person. It lets you be your authentic self again and gives your heart a real break too. Remember, every no spoken at the right time is a yes to your own health. The third thing, you don't need to master new tech every week. You don't need to know it all. Your heart needs its peace. Every week there is a new app, a new phone, a new social network. People talk in strange slang, text with icons instead of full sentences. Sometimes you feel as if you are being left behind, unable to keep up, unable to understand it all. And so you try, learning to use a tablet, setting up online banking, creating a social media profile, even when your heart just wants a break. But the truth is, you don't have to keep up with it all. And you certainly don't need to feel guilty for not being as updated as younger people. Because every time you force yourself to learn something you dislike, just to keep up or not be a bother, your heart takes on more pressure. According to the American Psychological Association, the stress of feeling technologically obsolete is a silent burden, yet it contributes to higher blood pressure and cardiovascular strain in older adults. Thomas, 79, tried so hard not to be a bother to his kids. He learned Zoom for family meetings, learned voice texts, he even got on TikTok. But after each tech victory, he'd lose sleep from anxiety and felt so foolish if he made a mistake. Once, after failing to log into his bank account because he forgot his password, he was left breathless with a rapidly pounding heart. Janet, on the other hand, chose a different path. She only uses her phone for talking and listening. Instead of trying to text on a tiny screen, she calls her kids directly. She said, "I may not know how to send photos, but I know how to speak from the heart." And her family, they never complained. They even felt more warmth from a real phone call than from a cold text message. The solution is simple. You have the right to choose what works for you. Choose what you find easy, what brings you joy, what feels connecting. Not because others do it, but because you want to. Let your younger family help when needed. That's one way they can show their love for you. Technology might race ahead, but you don't have to chase it. Your heart just needs a peaceful, genuine rhythm. Next is the fourth thing. You don't have to attend every family function. Not every get-together requires your presence, especially when your heart needs to rest. Family reunions are always precious. Everyone wants to be fully present for the parties, the big 3-generation photo shoots, or the picnics filled with laughter. And for many older adults, not participating makes them feel guilty, as if they're bringing everyone down. So even when tired, even when their blood pressure is down, they still go, just to not upset anyone. But that very effort is what tires the heart the most, because no one sees that behind a happy family photo is a sleepless night, a moment of a racing heart from overexertion, or a lingering fatigue that lasts for days after the party. According to a study from the National Institute on Aging, older adults with a packed social schedule, especially in crowded and noisy environments, have a higher risk of temporary hypertension, stressing the cardiovascular system, especially for those with a history of heart disease or high blood pressure. Eleanor, 81, tried to attend every single one of her large family's occasions: a great-grandchild's birthday, Christmas party, Easter. She didn't want anyone to see her as different, didn't want anyone to worry. But after each event, she would have to rest for days from exhaustion. Most recently, after one crowded and loud party, she fainted from low blood pressure. And her doctor advised, You don't need to be anywhere that doesn't bring your heart peace. Gary, however, chose a gentler approach. He calls to wish his grandchild a happy birthday, sends a handwritten card instead of attending the party. When he feels strong enough, he shows up, looking healthy and happy. And when not, he stays home, reads a book, listens to music, has a short video call to see his loved one's smiles. And his whole family understood. You don't need to prove your love with your physical presence. Being present in spirit, with a wish or a sincere call, is often more meaningful than a forced smile at the dinner table. Your heart needs moments that are truly calm, not just on schedule, but at the right time. Plus, let your family know you still love them, but you are also learning to love yourself enough to listen to your body. The fifth thing, you do not need to fear asking for help. Doing everything yourself doesn't prove you are strong. It only makes your heart more tired. So many people after 70 carry this ingrained belief. I don't want to be a bother to anyone, whether lifting something heavy, climbing stairs, or going to the doctor. They still try to do it themselves, not from strength, but from fear of being seen as needy or dependent. And so they silently push through, holding the exhaustion inside their soul and their heart. But the truth is, the more you hide your fatigue, the more vulnerable your heart becomes. When you try to overexert yourself, even with small things like carrying groceries or standing to cook too long, your body has to work much harder, and your heart is the first organ to feel the strain. According to the Cleveland Clinic, physical exertion beyond your limits, especially when you endure it instead of asking for help, is one of the causes that increases the risk of high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and even heart failure in older adults. Frank was a former soldier, always believing in the idea of self-reliance. After his wife died, he lived alone and rarely asked his neighbors or children for help. One time, he tried to change a light bulb himself. He fell from the chair, hitting his chest on the armrest. The chest pain did not pass as usual. After hospitalization, the doctor said, "This pain was preventable if you had just called someone for help." But Lucy chose a gentler way. When her legs felt tired, she called her son for a ride to the store. When she needed a checkup, she asked her granddaughter to book the appointment. She once said, "I used to do everything for my children. Now letting them help is how they get to love me their way." And it was true. Her whole family was happy to do something for her. You see, asking for help does not make you weak. It simply shows that you understand your limits and you love yourself enough to care for yourself properly. If you feel tired, say so. If you feel pain, ask. No one thinks you're a bother. In fact, they will be grateful that you trust them. Let your heart rest. Do not make it carry the extra weight of things you do not have to do alone. The sixth thing, you do not have to hide your tears or your vulnerability. Tears do not make you weak. They can save your heart. Throughout life, many of us were taught, be strong, don't cry. You're older now, you have to be the rock for the family. And so even with an aching heart, even when missing someone who's gone, even when sad from feeling forgotten, we still smile, suppress every emotion, and swallow our tears. That kind of strength is sometimes a suit of armor that's too tight, suffocating our own hearts without anyone knowing. But did you know that suppressing emotions, especially grief, loss, or loneliness, is directly linked to your cardiovascular health? The Mayo Clinic once reported that older adults who don't release their emotions have a higher risk of sudden high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and even broken heart syndrome, a condition where the heart constricts intensely from prolonged emotional stress. Margaret, 76, lost her husband 5 years ago, but never once cried in front of her children. She always said, "I'm fine, don't worry." But every night her heart felt as heavy as lead. Her sleep was never deep. Once, after a memorial for her husband, she felt a tightness in her chest and was hospitalized. The doctor told her, "You are not fine, and that's okay." In contrast, Daniel, a retired teacher, after he retired and lost his wife, journaled every day. He once shared, "Some days I cry all morning, but I write it down. By afternoon, I feel lighter and can breathe again." And his heart, according to his doctor, remains remarkably healthy for his age. You see, vulnerability is not something to hide. It is a part of being human, and sometimes it is your body's way of helping you heal. Your heart needs an outlet, not just for blood to flow, but also for emotions to breathe. You do not need to sob loudly. Just allow yourself a long sigh, let a tear fall, tell someone that you feel empty. Even that is enough to let your heart relax. No one was born to be forever strong, and no one loves you for hiding your feelings. They love you for being real. Let your tears wash away the heaviness, and let your heart have more space for peace to come back. Next is the seventh thing. You don't need to keep relationships that drain your heart. Not everyone who started the journey with you needs to finish it with you. After 70, many of us still try to maintain relationships just out of habit. Old friends, distant relatives, longtime neighbors. Even if conversations are forced, even if every meeting just leaves us feeling more stressed or drained, we keep them. Out of politeness, fear of being judged, thinking that at this age, who else is there, it would be lonely to cut ties. But what few people will tell you is the repeated negative emotions in unhealthy relationships are the silent threat to your heart. Researchers at the Harvard School of Public Health have proven older adults who maintain stressful relationships have a 34% higher risk of heart disease than those who cultivate positive connections. Every conversation that makes you feel small, resentful, or empty leaves an echo in your heart rhythm and blood pressure. Philip, 80, had a regular morning coffee with an old friend from work, a man who was always complaining, condescending, and never really listened. After each meeting, Philip felt more drained, his mood heavy all day. But he kept going because he thought we have been friends so long, how could I stop? Helen, on the other hand, at 78, decided to edit her contact list. She stopped calling the person who always spoke critically, stopped visiting the one who only shared negative stories. She did not make a scene, she just quietly let go. She saved her time for people who brought her peace, even if it was just a neighbor who enjoyed sitting in silence listening to music with her. The result: she laughed more, slept more deeply, and her heart beat more gently. You are not selfish for choosing what feels light for your heart. On the contrary, that is a mature act of self-love. If someone makes you feel tense, makes you feel you must perform to please them, then maybe you don't need to keep them in your life for the remaining years. You do not need many people. You just need the ones who let your heart breathe easy and let your spirit be at peace. And that serenity is sometimes the most powerful medicine for a heart that is aging beautifully. And finally, the eighth thing. You don't need to live by the old expectations of those who have passed. They are gone now, and it is time for you to live for you. There are words of guidance that still echo in our minds, though the person who spoke them is no longer with us. Please remember to uphold our traditions. When I'm gone, promise you'll provide for the children. Your father wanted you to do it the proper way. These phrases, once meant as love, can slowly become burdens that many carry for the rest of their lives. After 70, many people are still living in the shadow of someone who's gone, keeping the same dress, the same lifestyle, the same mindset, as if they themselves aren't allowed to change. But listen, your heart cannot keep beating for a past that has already ended. Clinging to what is gone, sometimes, is what makes your heart lose its rhythm in the present. Researchers at the American Psychological Association discovered that older adults with a mindset of loyalty to the past or feeling they must live up to a lost one's expectations have higher than normal levels of cardiovascular stress. That quiet internal conflict keeps the nervous system on high alert, leading to arrhythmia, hypertension, and a harder recovery from health setbacks. Edward, 79, still kept every one of his wife's things neatly arranged as when she was alive. He dared not change the sofa cover, change his daily routine, or even invite friends over because this house was always quiet. She never liked noise. He lived a lonely life in his own home full of memories, and his heart grew more and more tired. June, in contrast, after her husband passed away, chose a new way of remembering. She still lights incense and tells stories about him, but she also started learning to cook new food she liked, repainted a room a color she found calming, and every weekend she joins a group of seniors to read in the park. She says, "I am not betraying anyone. I am just living the rest of my life, the way I get to choose. You see, loving does not mean you have to preserve everything. Sometimes letting go of an old expectation is how you show the deepest love, by loving with a heart that knows how to live on. They were once a huge part of your life, but the part of life that is left is yours alone. Live it in a way that makes you feel light, peaceful, and happy. Because in the end, the ones who have passed do not need any more of your sacrifice. They would only want for you, who are left, to truly live. Do you remember? If any of those 8 points we just covered felt like I was speaking directly to you, we have lived long enough to understand that not everything is worth keeping. But sometimes the heart still holds on, simply out of the habit of carrying things. In reality, letting go does not mean giving up. It means choosing to live a lighter life, worrying less about what you can no longer control, being less tired from memories you cannot change. Some people get healthier just because they started speaking their truth. Some hearts find their rhythm again, just because they stopped trying to please everyone else. And you deserve to have that too. Starting today, choose to be lighter with yourself. No need to be perfect, no need to carry it all anymore. Your heart has worked so hard for so many years. It deserves to breathe a little easier. If you saw yourself somewhere in this story, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. You never know, your story might be the gentle comfort that someone else needs to hear. And if you know a friend or a loved one who needs to hear this, consider sharing this video with them, because it could be that invisible gift that helps a heart find its rest. Thank you for listening all the way to the end, wishing you truly peaceful days and the gentlest of heartbeats.